What is up, fight fans? This week in MMA, chaos is an understatement. The biggest threat to Hamzat Chimaev, gone. Islam Makhachev just landed in New York for the biggest test of his career. Chito Vera says he was robbed in Canada. Max Holloway, he just destroyed Jean Silva with one savage sentence. And Joe Rogan, yes, that Joe Rogan believes one upcoming fight could be the greatest in human history. From corner stoppages to wild callouts, from controversy to redemption, this week has it all. You think you've seen it all in MMA? Think again. Let's get into it. For months, Reinier de Ridder had the MMA world whispering. A slick grappler with elite finishing skills, a fighter who seemed untouchable on the ground. Many believed he could be the one to finally test Hamzat Chimaev's dominance. He'd beaten names like Robert Whittaker and Bo Nickel, built a quiet 5-fight win streak, and looked like a real contender in the making. But everything changed in Vancouver. De Ridder stepped into the cage with Brendan Allen, and from the very first exchange you could tell something was off. Allen's pressure was relentless. He walked de Ridder down, stuffed his takedowns, and landed heavy shots that had de Ridder reeling. By the end of the second round, de Ridder looked exhausted. And then came the moment that stunned the entire arena. He quit on the stool. Didn't answer the bell, didn't fight through it, just stopped. The MMA community erupted. Hamzat instantly mocked him online, posting, "This guy gave up." Marvin Vettori, Paulo Costa, and even Dylan Danis jumped in, clowning de Ridder and calling him a quitter. Memes flooded Twitter, and fans were posting x-rays asking, "Where's the dog?" It wasn't just a loss, it was an implosion. And just like that, de Ridder went from being the biggest threat to Hamzat to being erased from title talk completely. For Nassourdine Imavov though, this was perfect timing. With de Ridder out of the picture, the path is wide open. Hamzat versus Imavov now looks like the fight to make, and stylistically, that one's a nightmare matchup waiting to happen. But while the middleweight division was shaken up, another champion just made a big move that could change UFC history forever. Islam Makhachev, the man many call the most complete fighter on the planet, has officially touched down in New York City. The Dagestani superstar isn't just here for another fight, he's here to chase legacy. In less than a month, Islam will step up and wait to face Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 302, his debut outside lightweight and a potential game-changer for his career. This is more than just a matchup. If Makhachev wins, he becomes a legitimate two-division threat, and it opens the door for one of the craziest super fights MMA could ever see. Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. When Islam arrived in New York, cameras were already waiting. Fans chanted his name at the airport. Social media lit up with clips of him shadowboxing in the terminal, looking laser-focused. Reporters asked him about the pressure, and Islam kept it classic. "Pressure is nothing. For this don't we fight every day?" Meanwhile, across the ocean, Ilia Topuria was living like a national hero. After defending his title, Topuria returned home to Georgia, and the entire country turned up for him. We're talking streets filled with fans, flags waving, fireworks in the air. It wasn't just a welcome, it was a coronation. The contrast is wild. Islam quietly hunting greatness, Topuria basking in glory. But their paths are on a collision course, and if Islam dominates Jack Della Maddalena, the UFC will have no choice but to make it happen. Still, not everyone was celebrating this week, because while one champion was getting praise, another veteran walked out of Canada fuming, convinced the judges just stole his fight. Marlon Chito Vera came into Vancouver determined to silence his critics. He'd been working quietly, rebuilding, sharpening his boxing, and focusing on discipline. Across from him stood Ayman Zahabi, talented, dangerous, but not exactly a world beater. For 3 rounds, Vera pushed the pace. He landed clean jabs, heavy leg kicks, and looked like the more aggressive fighter. By the final bell, almost everyone cage side had him up 2-1. But when Bruce Buffer read the scorecards, it was Zahabi by split decision. You could feel the confusion in the arena. Boos echoed through the crowd, and Chito's face said it all: disbelief, then rage. Moments later, he jumped online and posted, "Don't get it twisted, I won tonight, we got robbed in Canada." That line went viral instantly. Canadian robbery trended for hours. Even fighters like Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley chimed in saying the judging was embarrassing. But Zahabi wasn't backing down. He celebrated the win, and then in his post-fight interview, he called out Sean Ali, saying he wanted to test himself against the real showman. And that's when things got spicy. When Sean Ali saw Zahabi's call-out, he didn't hold back. He grabbed his phone, looked straight into the camera, and said, "Sean Ali, a baby? Bro, please. You're lucky to share my spotlight." That one line sent fans into a frenzy. Within hours, clips of the call-out were all over TikTok and Twitter. Even UFC fighters jumped into the comments begging the promotion to book it. A 25-pound catchweight fight between these two. That's the kind of mayhem fans live for. Neither man wants to back down, and both have fan bases that love to talk trash. This might not even be about rankings anymore. It's about pride. Zahabi wants to prove he's not just GSP's protege. Ali wants to show he's the new wave of MMA entertainment. The UFC hasn't confirmed anything yet, but the buzz is so big that Dana White has to be paying attention. And if you thought that was wild, Joe Rogan just went nuclear with a claim that made the entire fight world stop and stare. During a recent episode of his podcast, Joe Rogan went on a passionate rant about one dream fight: Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones. Rogan didn't just say it would be big, he called it the greatest fight in human history. Think about that for a second. Jon Jones, the most dominant mixed martial artist ever. Alex Pereira, the scariest knockout artist in the UFC right now. At 225 pounds, not for a title, not for legacy points, just to see who's truly the baddest man alive. Rogan said, the greatest of all time versus the most destructive striker we've ever seen. That's not just a fight, that's a moment in human history. Fans went ballistic, Reddit threads exploded. Even fighters started picking sides. Jon Jones has already teased that he's interested. Pereira posted a photo of himself captioned 2225 sounds perfect. If the UFC ever makes it happen, it won't just break the internet, it might redefine what super fight means. But while everyone was fantasizing about dream fights, Max Holloway reminded the world why he's still one of the most entertaining fighters on and off the mic. You'd think after getting beaten badly by Diego Lopes, Jean Silva would take some time off. But nope, Silva jumped on social media and called out Max Holloway for the BMF title. The internet immediately went, wait, what? And when reporters asked Max about it, his response became instant legend. Max laughed and said, is he smoking drugs? Bro, this dude's still concussed. That guy gotta chill. The clip spread like wildfire. Fans were quoting it everywhere, remixing it into memes, TikToks, and edits. Even fighters like Sean Strickland reposted it saying Max is a savage. That's what makes Holloway special. He doesn't need trash talk or drama, he just is charisma. He's funny, sharp, and every time he talks, fans listen. But while Max was clowning online, another fighter was earning respect the hard way, through pure grind, no shortcuts. Not too long ago, fans used to boo when Merab fought. Too boring, they said, too much wrestling. Even Dana White called him not exciting enough. But fast forward to today and those same fans are chanting his name. Merab has turned himself into a machine, literally. 4 fights in a single year, 4 wins, all against elite competition. That kind of activity in modern MMA is unheard of. And it's not just the wins, it's how he's doing it. He outworks everyone, he breaks people. The cardio, the pressure, the pace, it's like watching a hurricane that never slows down. Henry Cejudo recently said, the only way Petr Yan beats Merab is by knocking him out cold. There's no other path. Even Umar Nurmagomedov, who rarely praises anyone outside Dagestan, admitted, Merab deserves Fighter of the Year, he's done what nobody else has. That's massive respect from a man who knows what greatness looks like. Just a year ago, Merab was fighting for recognition. Now he's fighting for history. From being booed in silence to being celebrated worldwide, the Georgian machine has officially earned his place among the best. And here's the thing, he's not done yet. There are still scores to settle, rivalries to ignite, and records left to break. So let's recap this wild week. Hamzat's biggest threat folded. Islam Makhachev landed in New York to chase 2-division greatness. Chito Vera screamed robbery. Sean Ali and Zahabi started a war of words. Joe Rogan dropped the wildest prediction of his career. Max Holloway turned a call-out into a comedy special. And Merab Dvalishvili proved that hard work really can turn hate into respect. This is why we love MMA. The stories change every week, but the energy never dies. One loss can destroy a reputation, one knockout can make a legend. So tell me, fight fans, who impressed you the most this week? Who deserves Fighter of the Year right now? Drop your thoughts down below, smash that like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, and make sure you're subscribed because next week, the chaos continues. We're on the road to 100K, and I can't thank you enough for being part of this community. Stay sharp, stay humble, and as always, keep fighting the good fight.